You're listening to Inside Real Estate, your source for all things mortgage and real estate related. The show that brings you all the hottest topics and insights directly from those who know it most. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
What is up, podcast people? I am Paul Apostolakis. We've got Salvatore Kuzmano. Brad Weisgerber is trying to get here from Flint, as always, and he's late. Yeah. So we are Inside Real Estate. Thank you all for listening and subscribing and liking our stuff. We really do appreciate all the support and feedback. Today, we have a very special guest, Shate Acevedo.
Hey, everybody.
Did I say it right?
You said it right.
All right, good. So Shate has an interesting story. Shate was in the Air Force for some time, so she's a veteran. She's been in the business for some time and has recently started her own brokerage, Fifth Avenue Realty.
That's right.
Right? This was this year, brand new endeavor that she took on. So I always think it's very interesting to talk to someone who's been in the industry on the real estate side and then decided to do it on their own. They've got to be a little bit crazy.
Oh, yeah.
To
Very
go out
scary.
there, right? Because it's like, there's no more safety net. It's all on you. And you've got to have a lot of confidence in yourself to really go out there and say, you know what, I'm cutting all cords, and I am going to go on my own. So I definitely want to talk to you about that. Talked about, how you got into the industry and how that obviously evolved to you starting your own thing. And then I also want to talk about, we had an interesting conversation yesterday about the cultish type of situation that we have with some other brokerages and also businesses. We talked about Quicken and some other things. So I kind of want to talk to her a little bit about that and how it's different when you're in that environment and you feel like everything's okay, and then you get out of it and you realize how kind of weird that situation is. So it'll be an interesting conversation. We were having fun with it yesterday, so I figured we'd share that. So first and foremost, Shate, tell us a little bit. How it's always interesting. Obviously, we always talk about this with anybody that's been new on the show. How did you decide or get into this weird industry that we call real estate, especially coming from a background in the military, in the Air Force, and then deciding, it's funny, there's a lot of people that have done that in our industry, and I always think it's interesting how that kind of translates into you going into real estate.
Well, in 2015, my husband and I moved here from California.
Yeah. And by the way, just so the audience knows, across the country, she's moved 48 times, and she likes Michigan the best, which
yes, hands down, Michigan's my favorite state.
Yeah.
But yeah, we moved here 2015, and then we were looking for a home. While I was stationed in the Air Force, every time I moved or was stationed somewhere else, I would buy a new property, I'd live in it, I'd flip it. So a little bit of practice real estate investing.
So you're basically in real estate just due to the fact that you moved so much.
Right,
Okay.
exactly, yes.
Right.
By default, I've been in real estate that long.
Yeah.
So, but I don't have 20 years of real estate background like some of the big guys out
For
there,
sure.
Mark Z and
Yeah.
Jeff Glover and those guys. So I almost started at a disadvantage. I was looking at it from a real estate investing side.
Yeah.
And that I did that for over a decade. And then when we moved here, at the time, I was working with the Department of Defense, and I did a transition here. We started looking for a house, and I sort of just fell into real estate almost by accident as a joke.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody about it, my old team lead, and I kind of said, well, I'm going to get my license and help you out. That's a joke. Literally, it was a joke.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, absolutely do it. And so one thing led to another.
like,
I'm
screw it,
on Groupon. I'm like, why am I going to take this real estate class?
There's a Groupon for real estate.
There is no live
Holy
Groupon.
shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, for veterans, believe it or not, there was at the time you could take a real estate class for free.
No way.
So I wound up paying for it and didn't realize that. But
A lot of veterans don't know their own benefits. But
they don't.
That's a whole different story.
And I'll tell you about my scholarship program too. It's Fifth Avenue for veterans. But
Okay.
so I took the class, I got my license, and then I don't know, it just happened.
Yeah. You just got into it. So you took the class. You got into the real estate. So what was your first real estate? Where did you start your career?
Community Choice, Birmingham.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then how long were you there for?
The whole last 4.5 years since
So
I've
you
been
were
here,
there.
2015.
Got it.
I was there, yeah.
So talk to me about that. How did you? So I think this is always interesting. So to have success in real estate, there's a million ways you can do it. What did you choose to gravitate towards? Was it just, hey, I'm going to work my sphere and use my people? Am I going to call leads? Am I going to just beat up the phones? Expired listings? There's so many different ways to get going. Where did you go to start?
I joined a team.
Okay.
Yeah. Fell into that, and it was, lead based. They flood you with leads, and I sort of got lucky, almost like had a silver spoon in my mouth when I started with that. And
there's a lot of people that sell, and I mean, we know this. I mean, even in mortgages, it's a lot of times, in our area especially, there's Quicken and there's some other places. So, to get into the mortgage industry out of college or you're new in the industry, a lot of times it's easier just to go and kind of start working the lead systems that are already built up for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's no way to get more experience that quick, right? At least in one aspect, which is typically selling, right? So it definitely sharpens your sales skills, but as you find, when you make that jump, like there's a lot more to it, whether it's that or real estate or, on the broker side, all the compliance and everything that you deal with. So,
a lot of bad that comes with the good.
Yeah.
You pay for those leads in more ways than one.
So talk to me about, what do you mean by that?
Well, I've talked a lot about how real estate teams compare to a cult, a cult-like environment.
The night time's the right time.
And exactly.
Yeah.
So I come from a really cutthroat, almost evil kind of background in my experience with real estate teams in general.
Right.
And some of the data I've collected from friends and realtors who either are still on a team or came from a team. It astonishes me how you don't even realize you're in that situation until you get out of it.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So like even me, so I started in mortgages. I started at Quicken, and leads are intense. Like you have to be. I mean, it isn't an easy game. These leads are being called by multiple people. You have to be available at night, on weekends. You've got to be working these leads constantly because it's a numbers game. The more calls you make, the more touches you have, the more conversions you have. Yeah. It's all very scientific in that way. So. A lot of times when you're in a lead situation and you've got people driving that, and it's kind of like you do what we say, how we say it, when we say it, and they have to have kind of almost like an army of people that follow the regimen. And then, of course, they've got to give incentives to make you feel like that's the right way to do it.
Right.
So, for instance, at Quicken, they have the isms and they have this and that, and they make you feel like it's all good, and there's a lot of, but you're working 12 hours a day to get those things. So talk to me about how, when you either realized that wasn't what you wanted to do, or did you just realize it when you're like, after I left?
Well, I started realizing it before I left. So if you've ever studied or read anything about cults.
Hold on, Brad just walked in. Why are you dressed up, by the way? That's interesting. All right.
I like it. You look great.
You look great. Okay. Do you have a funeral or a wedding?
Both.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome to the. So this is Brad, by the way, should I?
Hey, Brad.
So you're in this environment. So how did you break away from it?
So I started realizing while I was in that situation, I read a lot about cults. I don't know how or why.
You just started reading about cults?
Randomly reading books about cults, and in general, in a cult, there's that one the leader of them all. Yeah. And then just below him, they have like the gatekeepers. So it's in real estate, it'll be like a spouse or an assistant or a girlfriend or both at the same time. Who knows, whatever you're into. And so that gatekeeper is kind of the liaison between the realtors and the team lead.
Yeah.
And then around them, they have this circle of the immediate favorites, the top producers, the brown nosers. And if you're outside of that circle, you're either never going to get in, or you have to, unfortunately, almost backstab someone else to get in the good with the gatekeepers and the team leaders. So just like a cult, they make you think, like, if you're in that circle of love,
we'll take care of you.
Right? You're taken care of. You've got the golden ticket.
So you're always working to get into that circle.
100%. And if you mess up or you upset one of the gatekeepers, especially, because they're the ones who influence that team lead, because it's kind of like disconnected from the minions, the realtors. If you upset them, then you're out. You're out of the circle, and life becomes very difficult. And that's a lot how these teams really do operate.
Yeah.
But you don't realize that unless you're in it, because those folks that are in that immediate circle, they're high rollers. They're making money. They're turning deals over, tens of millions a year that they're closing. Yeah. And if you're outside of that, you kind of look up to them and think, like, I want to be like you, right? And if you're not there in that circle, you're wondering, what am I doing wrong?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So then towards the end, right before I left, it was when the non-competes came out. Yeah. We wanted everybody to sign a non-compete. Yeah. And I was like, there's no way. Right. I haven't bumped my head that hard. Yeah. And so I knew I had to leave, and that was the time. And then once I was out, I'd look back and I thought, it's like a bad relationship. Like, what was I thinking? Right. Why did I stick around that long? Right. But you almost become brainwashed to think that outside of that,
there's nothing else.
Yeah, there's nothing else. Like the rest of the world of real estate, they're all starving.
Right.
And I made.
Well,
the
that's
leap.
part of what happens in those teams and cults and everything, right? And even at Quicken, I always thought when I was at Quicken, just for instance, that this was the best opportunity I'd ever have and I could ever be. And I was making good money, and it was part of that inner circle, and I was doing well, and I was one of the top producers. Right. And you really start believing that this is all I can do.
Right. If you leave, you'll never make money again.
Right. It was scary.
And that is true for a lot of people who do leave Quicken.
They need that. Some people need that,
just because they don't really we've worked with many people. Oh, I've closed, 3,000 loans.
Means nothing.
Great. At Quicken.
Right.
Right? Or wherever, like Loan Depot. And it doesn't translate to experience on the other side, right? Mm-hmm. And just because I know how to do relationship-based sales and close loans as a broker doesn't mean that I would succeed at Quicken.
Right.
Absolutely. So that's a good point,
right? Like I don't think I would be great at leads.
You wouldn't be.
It'd be
I get annoyed.
It'd be fun to watch.
You would be.
I would burn so many leads. Not by making them mad, but I'd be like, all right, do it.
Yeah, I don't.
Just go with them. Then.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Yeah. I don't need you.
Listen, there is something good about it, though. I will tell you that the education that I had and the repetitions and the amount of deals and the sales skills. There was a lot. I don't want to make it sound like Quicken is bad. Like, look, there's a lot of good
none of us would be where we are now without
100%.
past experiences, and our next experience. Right, will be based upon what we do here, because I probably won't be writing loans for the rest of my life.
Right.
I would say the biggest thing you probably get out of a lead shop like a Quicken or something like that is the tough skin to be able to take a no and move on. Right.
You get beat up.
Yeah.
You get beat up. There's a lot of good.
You do develop a good base set of skills for sales.
Yeah. No. You there's a lot of good, but again, to Shate's point. The trick is not to be brainwashed, right? Not to be the guy that's drinking the Kool-Aid all the time, because you have to have your wits about you. Because if you start seeing a situation, because you have very little control in that environment. If they decide to turn your leads off, you're fucked.
Right.
It's over.
Life's over. You're gonna starve.
If they decide that you're not in that inner circle anymore, you're done, right? So you'd have very little control about your destiny if it's built that way. So so you're in this situation, you read a book, you're like, oh my God, I'm in a cult, and you're like, okay, how do I get out now? It's a big leap to go from being there, and then going directly to opening your own shop.
Right, with no sales background before that.
Correct. Like for me, I got out of the cult and I floundered for a little bit, did a thing, and I went to a different cult, and then I left that cult, and then I left another cult, and then I finally opened up my own thing, right? Yep. That's kind of how my thing went. So I went through 3 cults, I think.
Well, listen.
Yeah.
Every company, to a degree, should, if the owner believes in his company, feel like a cult. I mean, you should feel like you belong. You should feel like it is your best opportunity, because if the owner of the company or the person who's driving the business doesn't make you feel like this is a great opportunity for you,
there's truth to that. Yeah, there's truth to that. But at the same time, it can't be based on who you like best and who's in like this inner circle.
Well, is it? Yeah. I wouldn't even call that a cult. That's just like politics inside of
you have to treat people
big
with
businesses.
respect. I think.
Yeah, no matter what. And if you're a good owner, in my opinion, it's people over profits. Where sometimes it's not that. Anyways, so you realize this. You're like, I'm going to open up my own shop. Is that directly where your brain went?
Yeah, I went straight to that.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, because I know I'm smarter than these people. I mean, I have an MBA in business, and I had a lot of life experience.
Yeah.
I'm not a spring chicken. Yeah. So I went into this not as a 20-year-old kid, but an adult woman with 12 years of military experience and formal education. And I just thought, well, I mean, I could do this, and I could do it 10 times better.
That's awesome. See, I like what you just said there. I feel like people don't get this. Like, at some point, you hit a point in your life where you feel like you've earned the right to now do it on your own. Like you felt like you earned that, right? Like you didn't feel like I'm doing this out of line. Yeah. Like you felt like, okay, I am prepared for this. I'm doing it.
Right. It was an emotional decision, and a lot of people said to me, "Oh, you should have done this a long time ago." And I thought, no,
I wasn't ready.
I did it when I was supposed to. Yeah. That's when I was ready. I built up all of my tools, all my experience, and I did it when the time was right. Even if I had to suffer a lot before I made that jump, it was worth it.
Okay, so you decide, okay, I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah.
You get your broker's license.
Yep.
Okay, so talk to the audience, the people that are listening out there that maybe are in real estate, that might be thinking about starting their own brokerage. Talk about a few of the challenges that you had to go through to kind of figure out how to do that.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot I didn't know. I mean, I was just a realtor on a team.
Right.
So some of the obvious things like getting your license and getting an office and the basics that pretty much anyone can figure out, I knew that, but some of the logistics behind it all, I was not expecting. Little costs. And it always comes down to the money.
Yeah.
Little costs I wasn't expecting. You think.
Copier.
Right.
Like
a copier. You know how expensive
paper,
a freaking copier
toner.
is? Jesus.
Just little things,
like
right?
Hundreds of dollars I spend a month on freaking ink.
Yes.
It's ridiculous. I'm like, just write it on a piece of paper. Let's not print it out today. So, I mean, if you see me sneaking into someone's office to make copies, you know why.
Yeah.
But it's little things like that add up. You just don't realize. End of the month, you're like, oh, wait
a minute.
I thought I was in
Phone
the green.
systems, this, that, the other, right? Computers.
This morning I was thinking in retrospect some of the money we've just like took gambles on, right? Like, because you have a good month, you're like, all right, yeah, we'll pay for that publication, right?
Yeah.
We'll do this. And it's like, you look back and you're like, why'd I do that?
Yeah.
You know, it costs so much money.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands of dollars in like wasted like endeavors.
Yeah, we've put money in a lot of different places, trying a lot of different things to see what works, and you know that's part of the business. You know what I mean? Like you take shots.
Just get leaner as you go too, right?
Yeah, you start realizing what works and doesn't work.
And to the paper point, right? I see it, and I get it. Like some of our older loan officers, love you, Jacobs.
He wants to like print everything out.
Yeah, I'm like, dude,
we're paperless.
Yeah, like you have two screens that are huge in front of you. Use them.
Well, I like to highlight stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, I can relate. I like to print stuff out.
You do it
because I like to write notes on it.
Yeah, I know you're archaic.
The amount of money, or the amount of paper with a title company.
Yeah,
you know those closing docs are insane. They get scanned, copied, shredded.
We'll have closings at our office, and it's like, I'm like,
I mean, it's like
10 cents.
Think about the records keeping department at Quicken Loans, right? And they do what, like 10% or 5% of the business in the country or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, just insane.
Yeah, I think they can afford it though. Anyways,
I mean, but aside from that, just the amount of paper.
A lot of dead trees.
Well, I don't think they have much paper.
They're pretty paperless.
They're pretty
I mean, you're not going to see me driving a Prius, but man, that's a lot of paper.
Yeah, Sal's worried about the environment now. So you start doing this thing, and there's all these costs. Yeah. Now, when you started thinking about the structure of your team, obviously, because not team, but your business, I should say. What were you like? I'm just going to do it on my own. I'm not going to have people underneath, or did you like I'm going to bring support people with me? How did you?
So I initially thought, well, according to Tom Ferry, 5 to 9 is the key number for like the most successful teams.
Yeah.
So I wanted a brokerage that was built sort of like a team without the cultish stuff behind it.
Right.
So, you know, I did a lot of similar things to a team. I flood them with leads, but most importantly, I train to convert all day long.
Yeah.
And I'm really big on new agents. I mean, you just get your license, I'm your home. I love them. I love to be able to mold them. They don't come with any bad habits.
Yeah.
You know, I like the younger, you know, really excited agents who are just hungry and aggressive. So, I mean, if you've got a ton of experience, you got a huge sphere, Fifth Avenue is not going to make sense for you. Right? You don't need me.
Right.
But those younger agents who just don't even know where they're going to get that client from, they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
This is where it's at. I've created it. We're almost like this military unit that just functions in unison, all together. We all have each other's back. We don't leave anybody behind. If I have to get out there and do a showing for my agents, which I do all the time, I'll get out there. If I have a better chance of building rapport with a lead, whether it's because, I don't know, maybe they're a veteran too, or we're in the same age group, I'll go out there and do it. And I'm not taking anything more for it. I think
to me that's, and I think we agree with this, guys. I mean, if you're in a business where the owner or the person that you think is in charge isn't rolling up their sleeves and is in the weeds with you,
100%.
It's hard for you to really get behind that sometimes, and unless you create the cult-like environment, right? Yeah. So that's really commendable, because what happens, in my opinion, when you see that is like, okay, my that guy is working as hard or is harder than me. Then it puts the onus on me as like, dude, I got to support them if they believe in what they're doing. It's not like, do this because I want you to, do as I say, not as I do, but follow me because I'm actually going to do it with you.
Yeah. And I mean, any of them who, you know, anybody on the team knows my past, knows where I've come from. So they know I'm most likely one of the most resilient people they're ever going to meet.
Yeah.
So it's those days when they're just not feeling it, they're not motivated, and I just have to give them a look, like, really?
Yeah.
And then they start thinking, how long has she been in the office?
Right.
Like, she was here last night when I left. It was like 10.
Right.
And she was here when I got here. It's like 7. And, you know, they get it.
Yeah.
It makes them think twice, like, oh, I really can't complain.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So that's interesting. So how many people do you have on your team now?
there are 10 of us, and we'll be at 14 by the end of the month.
So you're growing.
Yeah.
That's like
That's
2
awesome.
days.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
are we in November? No, end of November. I'm thinking we're in November.
No,
No,
it's
end of
aggressive.
November.
yeah. No, it's coming right cover.
You know, it is funny that whole thing too, right? Like when someone gives you an excuse of why
Yeah.
they're not in the office. Oh, I'm sorry, I was tired.
No, I love that. I'd rather them tell me they're tired, though, than, you know, I got a flat
some
tire
bullshit.
or
Well-
some BS excuse.
Right, but I get amused by the excuses when they give me an excuse that is coming from them truthfully, but it's like not a good excuse.
Right.
Still, it's like, what?
Yeah.
You're tired?
Yeah,
Like,
it's,
come
it's,
on,
it's
dude.
tough because
Like-
because Sal and I and Brad and like we come in the office no matter what usually. Like I don't care if I'm unless I'm throwing up, which is, and I've thrown up in the office before and then gone home.
Yeah.
Like that happens, but it just I can't feel. I personally don't feel like I was productive. I feel like absolute shit if I didn't do anything that day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If you just sit around watching Maury, you know what I mean? Like
You are the father.
yeah.
Well,
Why are you watching Maury?
I just have a big
I don't
fear.
know.
Is he
Like
still
it.
on?
You are not the father. Hell yeah, Maury. I am not the father.
Well, I think that you can sense when people like are dedicated to something. They get that fear of missing out. They're on vacation. Hey, is
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
okay? Is
Yeah.
you know, is
Yeah.
this
Checking
on
in
the
nonstop.
rails? And it's like, man, it's a curse though too. You know, like you're
Yeah.
out on vacation trying to enjoy yourself,
Yeah.
and girlfriend's pinching you like,
Get
what
off
are you
your
doing?
phone, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is why I'm so cautious on who I bring on board. So
Smart.
while
Smart.
I love the new agents, I mean, we had 170 applicants.
You did?
We did. I did a huge
Holy
hiring boost.
cow.
170 applicants.
So let's talk about that. That's a lot of people. So what did you do to get that type of, that many people like looking to work for you?
I
That's
spent
crazy.
a lot of money. That's what it comes down to. I spent a lot of money, a lot of internet boosts, advertising, and
Yeah.
that technological stuff is beyond me. But
Yeah.
I got 170 applicants. I interviewed probably between 80 and 100, whether it was on the phone and they didn't make it past that first step or in person.
Wow.
And so I
What are you
usually,
looking for what kind of, who's the person that you're looking for to be on your team?
I'm never going to find someone who's my doppelganger, but
That won't happen.
I'd like to get someone close in the sense that they want to live, breathe, eat real estate. They
Yeah.
absolutely love it. It's everything to them.
Right.
They want to be in the office every day, you know, whether it's for an hour or 10 hours
Yeah.
prospecting. And they don't mind driving an hour and a half to show a $40,000 house.
They're going to do whatever it
They're going
takes.
to do whatever it takes. There are absolutely no limits.
Yeah.
So, and they're resilient, you know. I mean, I want somebody who, even if they throw up in the office, they're going to throw up, rinse their mouth, and then get right back
That's what I'm
on that
saying.
phone.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, don't
Go
come
brush
back
your-
with
go
it.
brush your
Yeah,
teeth.
don't come back to the office
Yeah.
like that. But
So that's interesting. Okay, so I always think this because I've done a lot of interviews in my life, and you know, people when they interview, they're going to tell you what you want to hear a lot of times.
well,
So how do you weed through all these people, all these different things, and find the person that you think makes that fits that mold?
so when I transitioned from the military into civilian world, I was an investigator on a Department of Defense contract.
Christ.
So I did
Okay.
all of the like security clearance
Yeah.
interviews.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've done thousands among thousands
So
of
you're getting in the
interviews.
psyche of people. Like
I
you understand
am.
how to do that.
I am. I'm watching their body language, their voice, their tone,
Yeah.
all of it.
I just got really uncomfortable.
I did too. I'm being psychoanalyzed as we speak. Shit.
Yeah.
She knows I'm a
You
sham.
guys
She knows
have-
I'm a
You guys
sham.
have a lot of issues.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. We know that at
So,
least.
Yeah. But yeah, that's how I did it, you know. And so I have them. I talk to them over the phone. If I feel good about it in our phone conversation, then I'll have them come in, and then after that, I'll have them come in another time. I want them to meet everybody at the brokerage.
They have to be part of the team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can't just go off of what I'm telling you. So,
Yeah.
I mean, for those agents out there interviewing, the broker, they may make it sound like rainbows and unicorns. And then you show up and you move your license and everybody looks like they're from The Walking Dead and they're starving. So I want you to meet everybody else on the team. Talk
'Cause it's
to
your
them.
team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go into an office, have a conversation. they'll all tell you exactly how it goes down. I'm very clear up front about all of your expectations. Like,
this is what it is.
This is what it is.
No.
If this doesn't work for you, this is not the place.
The biggest thing I think that people do in our industry is they make promises to new recruits that they're going to make a shit ton of money and it's going to be all roses. And what I've always done is I actually try sometimes, this is truth, to scare people out of the job. As crazy as that sounds. Like, I want to scare the shit out of you because it is very, very difficult. And what we do is not easy.
I tell them, go talk to 10 other brokers. If you still feel good about this situation, because at the first interview, they're like, yes, when can I sign up?
What do you
right
want me
away.
to do? Yeah.
No, go talk to 10 other brokers and come back and have a conversation.
Find out
with
how
me
hard
about
this
it.
is. Yeah. Find out if we are the fit. Because ultimately, as a team that wants to have a real team that isn't just numbers driven, that we just want a bunch of people, that we just want to put bodies in seats, it's way harder to basically look and get the right person that's going to be involved and really understand the trials and tribulations that they're going to have to go through in your team. Because most people, unfortunately, in our industry, make them promises sometimes that aren't reality. Because there was one guy one time 5 years ago, the guy came in their first year and made $150,000. Oh, you have the opportunity to do that when 90% of people only make 35, right? And they got to know that.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. If you're clear, you'll have zero. Well, my goal is to have zero turnover.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of my broker friends think I'm setting myself up for failure with that one, but so far I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if somebody leaves me to go somewhere else, then that's on me.
Yeah.
At some point I didn't vet them properly, or I wasn't taking care of them.
And if they leave to go do their own thing, then you got to feel good about
absolutely.
that.
More power to them.
Congratulations.
Any way I can
you
help.
built them up to that point, right?
100%. That would make me feel wonderful, actually.
We always tell our people that. It's like, look, you're going to have your own business. And if someday we're not adding enough value for you to be here anymore and you feel like you can do it on your own, go do it.
Yeah.
Because we don't provide leads, right? So it's...
they're building their own business.
But it is from a owner standpoint, right? Like trying to provide enough value and make people feel good all the time is now a different battle. Like, hey, we've got you in the door. We're working on this. Now it's like... we have to do our part, right? It's a two-way street.
Take care of your people, and they'll take care of you. It's what we learned in the military.
Yeah. So you said you do buy leads. So talk to me about that because, okay, so here's what I realize in our industry, especially on the real estate side. A lot of real estate teams, businesses, companies, agents buy leads, right? And very few understand how to work leads and have the systems in place by which to actually go through and cultivate these leads, because it is a difficult, it's a very competitive game. A lot of people are buying the same leads. So what have you done as far as the lead portion of the business to kind of set your team up for success? You know, because again, if you don't have a system by which to work the leads, then the leads mean nothing. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. So I've pretty much given them the exact formula. So I don't, you just have to be coachable, right? Listen to me. I know I've done.
Yeah.
I converted them. I'm like the queen of conversion.
Yeah.
And I'll give myself that for sure.
Yeah.
We have a very strict formula. You know, you make the call at this point. You follow up with a text at that point. Follow up, staying consistent is everything.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you have to go big or go home when it comes to leads. So I invest a lot of money into it.
You do have to go big or go home. You can't dabble.
It's a numbers game.
If you dabble a little bit and you're not fully committed, it's not going to work.
No, you're just throwing your money away at that point. You know, you buy one little zip code, you get 1-2 leads here or there.
Yeah.
You have to go big. You have to invest hard and stay on it, because that money, it drains quickly if you're not converting.
Yeah. So it is an absolute. And you know what's funny about real estate leads? Look, I've done mortgage leads extensively in my career, and the sales cycle on those are way shorter than the sales cycle on a real estate lead, because I start looking at real estate today, I might not buy for a year, which is not atypical. It's very typical. And what happens in real estate, if you're working leads, it's hard to stay in touch or stay top of mind for that full year while they're kind of going through the process of deciding when to buy a house. So how do you stay consistent over that long period of time in front of these people, because again, the sales cycle is so much longer.
I think the key when these leads first come in is that very initial first maybe 2-minute conversation. You have to figure out who these people are, who they are, where they're at in their heads, and they have a guard up already, right?
Yeah, they don't want to
talk. Sell them something.
They're like, oh my God,
you're trying to screw them over some way, right?
Right.
And while you're talking to them, they're getting text messages and other calls from other realtors.
Right.
So
like, Jesus, what did I do? Why did I do this?
They had no clue. They entered their phone number, and they're like, how did you get my number?
Now I'm getting hammered with phone calls. You're the third phone call, right?
Yeah, so you have to be on their page. I went to a Tom Ferry convention once, and they were talking about how you have to mimic their voice, the whole mirroring thing.
Yeah, you got
Tony
chameleon.
Robbins is big on it.
If they're high, you got to be high.
Right.
If you're low, you got to be low.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that's that first initial like investigative behavior that you have to have with these folks. And for the guys, the people on there who are not going to buy for a year, if you are consistent on your follow-up, consistent with your strategic plan, in a year from now, you're going to wind up following up with them anyway because they're in your system. You're going to get a task notification. Oh, I haven't talked to this person in 3 months.
Yeah.
But in that 3 month time, you've likely should have, sent them a text, an email, something that added some value, a birthday card, a Christmas card, whatever it is.
So you said some very pointed things there, adding value, because you can't just call these people and just be like, did you buy a house yet? Do you want to buy a house, right?
Right.
So you have to add value. Another thing that people don't realize about leads is there's a few things. Speed to contact is very important. Because they're going to get calls from other people very quickly. And second of all, you have about 30 seconds in that first 30 seconds to find a way to humanize yourself and find and assimilate with them, which is not easy to do. And that takes a little bit of skill and training. Do you do sales training for your people?
Yeah. Every Wednesday, 6:00, religiously.
Have you created a sales process for your people?
So I've created a training program, which I do one-on-one with them.
Good.
And if it's something outside of my, sphere of expertise, I'll bring somebody in. So a loan officer, someone from title. We're going through inspector training now. So I have an inspector coming in, teaching us everything from top to bottom about a house.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're investing time for training, which is sometimes people what ends up happening with leads. It's like, hey, here's your CRM, here's some leads, here's a script. Call 150 leads today, and that's it, right?
And I've designed it so that it's designed for that brand new agent. Just like I was at one time, I wish that I had that kind of training. So it doesn't start from here's a lead and here's a CRM. What's the first question a buyer is going to ask you when you take them out? When they ask you, well, what happens next? They don't know what an EMD is. So like day one, chapter 1 of the training, I talked about EMDs, right? Because we get that question a lot, like, what is an EMD? What does that mean?
When you say EMD, people don't even know. Like, is that a rap group? Like,
yeah, exactly. And if you're a new agent, you don't know what it is either.
Right.
So I started with the questions that are most likely to come up first.
Yeah. That's good. So you're very linear with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you can start all day from top to bottom of a purchase agreement. But by the time they get a question like that about something on there, they don't remember.
Let's get you out there and understanding the first parts of the transaction. That's pretty good. Where is Fifth? So let me ask you this: what is Fifth Avenue's competitive advantage? Like, why would someone when I talk to someone, and obviously people have options in our industries, and it's not always just I like this person the best. What do you feel that you guys do better as opposed to the market, or have a more acute attention to?
Well, I haven't forgotten what it's like to be a realtor out there. A young realtor, have no clue, and when I mean young, not by age, don't be fooled by the Botox, but I mean young in the industry. My wife would get along, yeah. So, I haven't forgotten what it's like to, not know how to talk to these leads on the phone. So number one is training. I mean, I'm holding your hand. And like I said, if I have to go on a showing for you, I will absolutely do that. Bring you on the second one and then slowly integrate you so you can take over. And so I find that a lot of the folks that have come on board, I mean, they appreciate that more than anything.
Yeah.
I'm literally holding your hand. I have one agent, and absolutely love him. He's got an awesome voice on the phone, but he looks really, really young.
Yeah.
So, he might show up to a showing. They're like, where are your parents? Where are you here? And so, I'll go out and I'll do the showing for him. I'll do the whole thing for him. Let him do the background, write the offers, and make the calls, schedule the appointments. At the end of the day, it's still his client.
It's so funny that you say that. When I started at Quicken, I looked like I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
Up. And I remember thinking, I used to lie to people. And I'd be like, oh, I've been in the business I used to lie all the time.
Yeah.
Which is not great. I don't suggest it, but because I looked like I was 14. And so I remember one time I told someone, we had the same birthday. And I was 30 years old. I've been doing it for 5 years. And then my real birthday came up. And I was like, oh, yeah, I just had my birthday party. She's like, wait a minute. I thought we had the same birthday. So, yeah.
Don't lie. It'll always come back to you.
Yeah, it will always come back to you. So as a consumer that obviously has options, why Fifth Avenue?
I mean, like I said, we're training nonstop, and because I have this militant mind and the way I plan things, I'm very strategic about how I teach these agents.
Yeah.
Not only do they behave a certain way, they dress a certain way, they think a certain way.
Yeah.
More importantly than anything else is that we take care of our clients.
You care about
we
them.
care about them. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, we're going to be when sometimes I've gone out to showings and I've had a client say to me like, you're really beating this house up. I mean, I think you're supposed to sell me something. And I'm thinking, I tell them I'm going to sell you something, but it's going to be the right house.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want in a year from now, you're calling me up like, I want to sell this piece of crap house that you sold me. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Right. I want you to be happy. I want you to tell all your friends about us. And before you know it, I'm going to get 10 referrals from you.
So so I'm glad you said that, because it doesn't matter if you do all the other things right. It's how do you perform for the client ultimately, right? Your performance you got to perform. You can have all the bells and whistles in the world, but if you aren't performing for the client, then none of that matters.
And you've done something right when you're getting invited to bar mitzvahs, to weddings, to baptisms, to birthday parties, to all of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I have one client who just sent me flowers to my house. I've never met him. He's an investor.
Yeah.
He said, I was thinking, how do you know where I live?
That's creepy.
How did that happen?
Creepy.
He said he just Googled it. Okay. But, he sent me this big bouquet of flowers, and I'm thinking, well, who does that? Like, that's really nice. Or randomly, I'm always getting these presents at the office, left at the office, and then they don't leave notes.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's
Are you sure
creepy.
you don't have a lot of secret admirers today? Like, I don't know.
No, but it'll just be like a client who's really, really grateful.
That's awesome.
And that's the proof that I get at the end of the day.
So where are you taking this? Where do you see Fifth Avenue in 5 years? Or let's call it 2 years, because that's usually
2 years.
Yeah, let's say 2 years from now. What is the goal? Where do you want to be? Where would you like to be in that period of time?
Well, I don't think that I'm ever going to aim for this huge conglomerate brokerage. I like the idea of being a smaller boutique shop.
Yeah.
Depending on what the market does, we never know where we're going to be in 2 years
For sure,
from now.
yeah.
But we'll probably be twice the size, maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
If I keep spending this much money on recruiting, and we're just gonna and we're gonna have the same folks that are with me now are gonna be with me in 3 years.
That's awesome.
Maybe we have a couple more offices sporadically throughout the state.
Yeah. So you want
we'll
organic growth. You're not looking to grow just to grow, which I think is a smart thing to do, because growth is difficult, because you always hit a plateau. And we know this, right, guys? You hit a point in your business where you really can't afford to go to the next step, but you can't afford not to. So you got to kind of just pay your way into it.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like we get to a point, it's like, well, we got to do this, but it's going to cost us money. And I don't know if we can afford it, but we can't do it if we don't, right? It's kind of funny.
Well, yeah. I mean, but if
it's not funny. I don't think funny is the right way.
Just, Brad's our controller. Every time I'm like, look, or we're going to do this. He's like, dude, we can't afford it. I'm like, well, we can't afford not to do it.
Yeah.
And
sometimes you gotta take that jump, but if it improves your business, right?
Right.
Like as a structure, then it improves the experience. It improves your network, the referrals. So
it's hard in business because because it's about money, right? Ultimately, but when you feel like you believe in what you're doing, sometimes you don't make as much money as you could. Like we could make way more money if we decided not to grow. Yeah. We always think about that. It's like, do we just stay small and never try to, grow out of this and be like, because it's either you are the business or you have a business. Right? So Tay could be the business and you could just do really well for the rest of your life, but you want to have a business, which is a much different thing.
Yeah, and I want to be able to shape and mold these other realtors out there.
That's
so
what you like.
10, 15 years from now, they're looking back and, they're on a podcast and they think, well, I had a mentor once, and they're thinking about me in that aspect. So I know everybody wants to make a lot of money. I know it sounds a little unbelievable, but I really don't need to make a lot of money.
Nobody does.
I've done really well in my life, so I'm really comfortable.
Yeah.
If I don't make a lot of money and I just make a little bit, I have a nice house, I'm happy, I have my fancy shoes, I'm good, right? So
do not call my wife and do not hang out with her. You guys are in trouble.
We're meeting her in
Yeah,
Somerset.
you guys are in trouble. And I think that's poignant, and I'm going to moving to our 3 questions after this, but I think when you're driven by money, you have a less likelihood of being successful. Yep. If you're driven by success, whatever that success means to you, and it's not monetary, you have a much higher likelihood of success because
yeah.
you don't put the money first.
It's a deeper meaning of success.
Well,
though,
yeah, look
than
at our
just the
military.
surface.
I mean, nobody's in the military because they make a ton of money,
Right.
right? They
Right.
love what they do.
Yeah.
So what I had mentioned earlier is I don't want to forget to say this is we at Fifth Avenue is doing a scholarship for veterans.
That's awesome.
So I mean, we will pave your way through.
Yeah.
We'll train you, and if it's a right fit for you, then you have a home with us.
Yeah. I think that community is sometimes underserved or underappreciated for sure. I mean, we have like Nathan and we've got Kyle in our office, and they both do an amazing job, and they both have served the country. And it's like, well, dude, I could go into it, but personally, I'm too big of a pussy to like do it, right? Like, I was like, I don't know if I'm a good fit for that, so I'm just gonna go here.
Yeah.
But that's such a big part of what we do. Our security in our country is huge, so kudos to you for that, obviously.
Thank you.
So we're gonna do 3 questions. We do it on
Okay.
every show. They're pretty random. The first one is always the same. What scares Shate?
What scares Shate? Mediocrity, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be just mediocre.
Yeah.
I need change. I need things to keep moving. You know, I'm from New York, so I like a little bit of the hustle and
You're
bustle.
from New York? I didn't know that.
Yep.
All right. So New York, like the
New York, born and
Manhattan.
raised, Brooklyn, Queens.
Really?
Yeah.
I love New York. I really do, but it's pretty crazy. It's a different world out there.
Oh, totally different world.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that there was a world outside of New York when I was
Most New Yorkers
living
don't.
there.
Most New
York,
Yorkers
right?
don't.
It's kind of its own little world in New York.
It really is.
It's
When I went to
totally
boot
I've never
camp-
been, but
Yeah.
I want to one day.
When I went to boot camp, it was a unit of 52 females in one squadron, and they all said to me, "God, you have the funniest accent. Like, I love your accent." I hide it really well now.
Yeah.
But at that time, I thought,
Well, you're from Brooklyn.
it's all of you guys that have
Yeah.
the accent. I talk normal.
You're like Jenny from the block.
Right. And then when I went back home, I'm listening to this. I'm thinking, gosh, you guys all do have an accent.
Yeah.
So over the years, I've trained myself to really,
Really?
hide it.
Bring-
really
I would love to
well.
hear you like slip up. That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, I have to be home, and
Yeah,
you know,
I
when I'm
get
mad
it.
at my husband, maybe. Yeah. Like, what are you
That's
kidding
when
me?
that's when it comes out, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I was on the subway, and there was a New York, and New York was playing Boston at this time, and there was just Boston fans on the train, and they were going at it. And the Boston fans, I mean, there were 2 very different accents, and they were just going at it. I could barely understand what was happening. I just
Yeah.
knew they were upset at each other. It was crazy. All right, so since you've been to so many different places, what is your least favorite state?
Oh, least favorite.
Or-
Gosh, I hate to do that
You gotta
to
do
folks
it.
out
Yeah,
there.
you gotta do it.
I'm gonna have to go with Mississippi. Oh,
I've never been.
sorry.
Why Mississippi? I'm just curious.
It's so hot.
Yeah.
It's so hot and humid. I don't like the extreme heat.
Yeah.
And the food is all right, but the bugs, they have these flying, they call them palmetto bugs, but they're flying cockroaches. They really are. And they're everywhere. Like everywhere.
That's
in your
horrible.
house. Doesn't matter how clean you are. They come through the vents. Outside, the floor is moving when it's dark.
Oh, my
It's
God.
because of them.
Nobody talks about these
Gross.
flying. Look
Yeah.
at Jessica's
They're
face.
palmetto.
Jessica threw up
No
in her
lie.
mouth.
That's
Palmetto.
disgusting.
Yeah, wait till one flies in your hair.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. They're giant, like 1.5 inches big.
I'm not playing that game.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, I mean the bugs
It's
in
awful.
the heat are just
I'm out on that.
it's
bro.
a no-go.
Yeah.
Like
I'm out on
I was
that.
in Mexico this past weekend, and there was grasshoppers, which didn't really scare me,
Oh, yeah.
but still they were huge. They were like this big, and they were
Yeah.
just flying. Like one was on the door handle of our, and I was just kind of, but yeah, it was.
For those of you not watching the video, it's like the size
And we
of a
played
butter
golf,
knife.
and I lost.
Yeah.
I played the worst golf and lost all of my balls that I bought because as soon as it went in, if it went in like more than 6 feet into the,
It's disappeared?
I'm out.
Oh, you wouldn't
I'm
go
not
get
getting it. You know.
Grasshoppers will
I don't
take you
care.
away.
Well, not-
Grasshoppers, really?
No, like just because I mean, like
Here's the thing about
I don't know what's out there: alligators, snakes, spiders. Right? I'm out on it.
It is weird
For the
'cause
$2 golf
when,
ball,
when you're in
just-
Cancun, and we have squirrels around here. They have iguanas.
Yeah.
And they're just like
Many
squirrels.
iguanas.
Yeah, they're like you just see them walking around. It's like, dude, why is there a lizard there? Like, oh,
Yeah, there's no squirrels there.
what is wrong,
Right.
bro? That's like a
Lizards. It's
squirrel.
kinda cool.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. Where should we go with the last question? I'm gonna go with, if you could do anything other than real estate or being in the military, what would it be and why?
Oh, that's easy.
It's easy.
I would have been a writer.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
What kind of writing? Fiction?
Probably a novelist. Yeah,
Really?
fiction novelist.
You could still do that.
I absolutely can.
Yeah.
I've got some stuff in the works.
Yeah.
But, who has the time?
Yeah.
Where do I find the time?
That's the
It
thing.
is
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
What
funny when
genre of novel?
I'm really
Romantic.
into like
Teen romance?
but no lie, I have this weird obsession with vampires. Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love
I
the
love
vampire
vampires.
stuff.
I would love to be a vampire. I like that you said, dude, being a vampire is the coolest thing. You're kind of
How
sexy.
cool.
You live forever.
Ageless.
Ageless. You
Strength.
You sparkle in the sunlight.
Hey.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like
You can turn into
sparkle?
a bat. You can shape shift.
I
And
don't
you
know about the bat thing.
Yeah, it's awesome. And you also eat. You suck on people's necks.
Right.
Which is
Drink blood.
I mean, it's usually a good-looking chick if you're a guy. So
God, Hollywood has
Yeah.
done some terrible
It'd
things.
be tough to get close enough to a girl though with that breath, Paul.
thank you, buddy. I appreciate that, buddy. So that's awesome. Okay, so
Yeah.
you'd be a novelist. That's interesting. So
Novelist.
you write a vampire novel,
Absolutely.
like Bram Stoker's or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah, with a little cultish flip, like
That's
flair.
interesting.
It is cool if you look at like famous whatever, right? Guy who started KFC, novelists, like they started their career after working what they thought was their career for
Right.
like 20, 30 years, like 60, 70 years old. Like
Yeah.
the guy started KFC,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. It's never too late to do anything.
Oh, no.
The great thing about our business is, let's say you create a business and it gets going, and now you have a self-sufficient thing, and you
Yeah.
basically can just be there and be the mentor. Then you can do a lot of other things,
Yeah.
and it really opens up your ability to expand your horizons. Like you look at people like, even like people that were super obsessed with their business, like Steve Jobs, right?
Right.
Or no, what's the Microsoft guy? Why am I drawing a blank?
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, right? Now he's got the Bill Gates Foundation. He's
Yeah.
doing really what he always wanted to do, even though he spent such an immense amount of energy building Microsoft,
Right.
right? So,
Right. So I basically need to write a book about vampire realtors.
dude, that,
Right?
Better in a
could you
call.
Okay.
imagine? Realtor by day,
Create other-
vampire by night.
Right?
Other vampires by showing homes and
Exactly. That's how we build
Let me
our
show you this
brokerage.
home. All right, Shante, thank you so much. You've been honestly a wonderful guest. Can
Thank
you
you,
tell the
guys.
audience how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can call me 248-973-7233 or check out our website, fifthavenue.realty.
Give that number one more time, just to make sure they got it.
248-973-7233. You can also just Google my name, Shante Acevedo, and it'll pop up.
Yeah, it's
Assuming you can
Acevedo.
spell that.
Ace Acevedo.
It's ACEVEDO.
EDO.
Correct.
Bam.
You got it.
What up?
spell.
Yeah, no, I can't. I'm horrible at it. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you, everyone, for listening to the show. Obviously, go to we have a new website up. If you check it out, it's irepodcast.com, but we redid it.
Same web address.
Same address.
New
Look. Yeah, we updated it. It looks, Joe, our guy, did a really good job on it. So check it out. Drop us a message. Obviously, if you like the show, we appreciate nothing more than if you give us a review and get on iTunes or wherever you listen to us. So appreciate everybody. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next week.
We won't see them.
Shut up.